Well, hello neighbour. I'm glad I bumped into you actually, not so much because I need to borrow your lawnmower again, though that might be handy, but because I've discovered a little gaming gem that I want more people to know about. Now, unlike most of my gaming videos, this game didn't pique my interest because of its intriguing world building, ominous plot hints and depth of lore. No, the thing that most struck me about this game was just how nice it was.
Nice.
I seem to recall from English lessons that nice is a terrible adjective because it doesn't really describe anything useful. But I'm sorry, Minami Lane is a nice game. This might be because Minami Lane is what is known as a cozy game, a genre that Wikipedia describes thusly. Emphasises non-violence and relaxation. Initially derived from the life simulation genre, cozy games commonly include activities such as gathering and growing plants and nurturing other characters, so pretty wholesome. Good observation, as it was in fact co-published by Wholesome Games, a company set up precisely to publish, well, wholesome games. Minami Lane itself was developed by indie developers Doot, Bleebloop and Zaku. 3 individuals that pooled their talents to provide a game that was put together in under 6 months. Doot, a former data scientist turned game developer, brings light strategy and management gameplay, while Bleebloop breathes life into the isometric world with her Studio Ghibli-inspired hand-drawn designs. Zaku adds the finishing touches with joyful, wholesome music compositions and soundscape. We really hope you will enjoy this tiny game we made with love. Much like how Citizen Sleeper works so well because of the combined talents of developer Gareth Damian Martin, artist Guillaume Sangalin and composer Amos Roddy, this triumvirate leverages their individual talents to make something that is greater than the sum of their individual parts. And that is just part of why I want to talk about this game. So without further ado, let's get into it. Minami Lane is a Japanese-themed street management game that puts you in charge of developing and sometimes redeveloping the titular Minami Lane to hit the criteria of each mission, which tend to specify the inclusion of a newly available building, as well as optional objectives based around building or time limits. The flow of the game is broken up into daily cycles that work like this. First, you have the development phase where you can place 1 new building a day, assuming you meet all of the criteria, upgrade existing buildings, or adjust the product ranges and pricing of existing businesses. That sounds a bit like a planned economy. Secondly, you have the active part of the day where the residents of Minami Lane emerge from their homes to use the amenities on their streets and provide live feedback as to your choice of products and pricing.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
During this stage, you can earn additional income from picking up litter, clicking on or greeting passing cyclists, stroking cats, and finding the mischievous raccoon-like tanuki that disguises themselves as a random object on the street. Incidentally, I looked up what a tanuki is, and it turns out that they are a very much adorable raccoon-like dog. It is also the inspiration for what we, in my house, used to call the raccoon suit in Mario 3. So there you go, YouTube. I have learned something today. Lastly, you are given a bunch of information about the day's activities, how well your amenities have performed and how your residents feel about their street right now. The main aim of the game is to develop the street using money earned by your amenities along with those additional activities on the street, and to try and make your residents as happy as possible. Simple, right? There are 12 types of building that broadly fall into one of 3 categories: residential, homes for new residents, the varieties of which will encourage a majority of either younger or older folk; commercial, shops, amenities and restaurants that will be measured on price and their ranges of products and services; civic, parks, relaxing onsens and service centres that allow you to hire automated help with things like littering, customer feedback and amending existing buildings. Your residents will give their opinions via thought bubbles when clicked on, meaning that you can see what they think of the range of products, services and prices. This helps you attempt to meet their needs, and really this is what you will spend most of your time doing. There are 3 types of residents, all with their own idea of what perfect is, meaning you will have to optimise and appeal to each separately with their own amenities, or else find some kind of compromise between them to achieve what you need to. Those types are the young, the old, and Well, we'll get to the third kind later. So that's the general premise. Let's take a closer look at things, shall we? Minami Lane is a delightfully simple experience, with a focus on doing a few things really well as opposed to many things adequately. Given that we know the game was reportedly put together in about 6 months, that feels like a necessary conceit, and it does mean that the main campaign is only around 3 to 4 hours long. However, this approach does mean that you get a very polished, very smooth gaming experience, and that the person playing feels like they're playing something that was made with both love and care. When you then pair the thoughtful game design of Duped Games with the distinctive, clean and tasteful art style of Bleebloop, you have a suddenly super polished product that people can identify almost immediately as a high quality endeavour, something which is ever more important with most game markets now flooded with cheap mobile ports and half finished games. There's no getting away from it, the aesthetic is, without a doubt, a huge draw, as I think that when this game first flashed up to me as a suggestion on Steam, it was almost definitely the cutesy art style and the laser targeted cozy game colour palette that drew my interest. It has a visual harmony that reminds me of things like the Moomins or Sylvanian families that I used to see when I was growing up, and perhaps there is a touch of nostalgia to my fondness for it as a result. The pastels and muted colours of Minami Lane manage to be comforting, cartoonish and visually pleasing in a way that few things do, and it is this thoughtful clarity and the way that the game design utilises it that makes it such an easy game to pick up and play. The approachable nature of the game's presentation and general build philosophy work harmoniously with the wider concept of Minami Lane, that being the building of a communal space that prioritises the happiness of its community above all other concerns. The warmth and friendliness of the art style, not to mention the supporting music provided by Zaku, creates a supportive environment that puts the player in a relaxed state of mind and acts as a constant reminder that we are aiming for a sort of suburban utopia. We do not entirely escape the sticky fingers of capitalism, of course. We do need to earn money in order to spend it, and the pricing of your services and products are a core mechanic, as is the concept of a profit margin. However, there are a few key elements that stop this becoming just another tycoon game. Firstly, any money we make has only one purpose: to purchase improvements for Minami Lane, and the accumulation of capital is never the primary objective. The economy of Minami Lane is basically a closed circuit, with any and all money earned explicitly redistributed within the community from which it came, as opposed to, I don't know, it being hoarded away in the Cayman Islands. Secondly, we can also make money through performing community tasks, such as picking up litter, greeting cyclists, petting cats, and of course finding that mischievous tanuki. Thirdly, even the profit-making elements of the price setting end up being sublimated to the happiness of the community, with price satisfaction metrics being ultimately more important to our progress than raw income. Fourth, the beauty of the area is as important to success as any more functional metric, and in fact, incorporating amenities that help residents relax or socialise is a vital part of the game, illustrating that happiness is prioritised over profit. Finally, there are the yokai, of course. Who or what are the yokai, you ask? Well, they are the third resident type, and in Japanese folklore, which is the source for this type of tanuki as well, yokai are supernatural spirit-like entities that range from quirky, well-meaning spirits to the more creepy and malignant kind. So to my mind, I think instantly of the bathhouse in Spirited Away, and the massive variety of shapes and sizes we see in there. In Minami Lane, however, the yokai are these happy elf-like looking guys, who we are told generally avoid people but appreciate beauty and respect for nature. As the game develops, we begin to see them occasionally pass through particularly happy and beautified neighbourhoods on bicycles, and then we are eventually given the yokai tree, a domicile for 2 yokai. They are used to represent the physical embodiment of a harmonious environment, both in terms of meeting residents' needs and respecting nature, and are only available once you meet a series of fairly substantial criteria. I suppose they are the most literal form of "this game isn't about money" that you can really find. Overall, Minami Lane is a pleasant but not overly taxing experience. A nice evening of gaming perhaps, but it is effortlessly charming, overwhelmingly positive, and a reminder of what gaming can be when we take a moment to think about the messaging we want in our games. A common failing of the modern video game industry is the preoccupation with presenting games that are superficially anti-corporate or anti-capitalist, but without ever really discussing the alternatives. Kind of like dressing as a punk but listening to fucking Coldplay. It's quite easy to point to exploitation, corruption, class interest and environmental damages and say that these are bad things and we should stop them, and that some faceless corporation or roomful of money men are responsible, as opposed to tangible economic and institutional systems that can be examined and dismantled. But all of this talk of dismantling systems, building voting coalitions or revolutionary movements all focus on the erasure of the existing, but often without much sense of what we would put in its place. It's quite rare, I think, to see a game that actually says, here are some small, achievable, positive changes we could make, simply demonstrating the power of kindness and community within a framework not that different from the ones we live under now. There have been a few attempts at this. Citizen Sleepers 1 and 2 both offered opportunities for community building and ground up anarchistic decision making, but it was far enough removed from our reality that it felt quite alien and fantastical, even as it dealt with real world issues. Commonhood also had a really interesting premise when I first tried it a year or two ago, but the mechanics of the game were unfinished and clunky, and honestly I bounced off of it fairly quickly, though I do hope to return to it soon and see if it has progressed since then. Minami Lane simply asks the question, what if streets were designed for the good of the residents? And in doing so, it creates a childlike game state where just trying to make people smile is the focus, and the only restriction is your willingness to try. What if we did do that, by the way? What if we did try to put people first in our town and city planning, our budgeting, our governance? Those questions, that thought pathway, is how video games can open people's minds up to different ways of living, of managing societies, and ultimately create a pathway to something better. In that way, Minami Lane provides a much needed hug of wholesome warmth in a world of shallow gaming experiences. But it is also a harsh reminder that actually the world could be very different if we only changed our priorities. Thank you for watching this video on Minami Lane, a short but achingly well made game that provides a stunning aesthetic, heartwarming tunes and a simple but rewarding game loop that will have you waving at cyclists and petting cats happily, all whilst your residents tell you that there's too many prawns in your shitty ramen. Thanks also go out to Mrs. InsideLeft for her help with the scripting and setup, Adventsong and Robert Gordon for the use of their music in this video, and to the WeCreateTogether group for their support and advice. If you do happen to have enjoyed this video, please do give it a like and consider subscribing for more videos just like this one. Every like, comment and any kind of interaction increases the possibility that someone else might see the video. So if you can spare a moment to do so, I would really appreciate it. Take care, comrades, be brave, be kind, and I will see you again real soon. Bye for now.